Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Agarwal and let him kick this off. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I see so many wonderful faces out there. It's nice to feel like we're connected, even in this time when we're very socially distant. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Agarwal.
Isn't she good? Amy, thank you very much. So the Doctors ACO is the ACO founded by Raj Bansal and his group in Georgia. And basically, this main function is to protect independent physicians and keep them financially active. But in the last 3 months, we have seen the bottom. And if you're not seeing the bottom, you will see the bottom. Some people can handle this and some people cannot handle it. Like a practice like me, where we have imaging, we have PET scan, SPECT scan, we have ultrasound, all that thing got zipped. So we have serious loss in revenue, and our expenses didn't change because the cost of running the PET camera did not change. So we basically are losing money, and we have basically no control. So despite of letting people go, we basically are helpless. So I'm glad this we have this CARES Act passed. So it's a great thing to do, and I think what we learned that is there are a lot of unknown. As a physician, we basically have we know some help is available, but we don't know how to get it, and we want to get it right way so we don't have to reapply again and again. So we thought that we need to get our expert in banking and accounting together, and then maybe they can help us. So tonight is the night where they are here with us, and they are joining us in this meeting, and we really want to thank them greatly to help us with that. So first, I want to introduce you to all these panelists, and I will invite them 2 minutes to talk and tell them what they are, what they do, how they've been affected, and what they can do to help us. So number one, we bring the Raj Bansal. Raj Bansal is a independent physician who run and manage multiple small practices and has, he's a leader for independent physicians. So Raj, please tell us about you and see how you've been affected with this disaster event.
So everyone, I, Subodh, and several others, we all first created a Palm Beach ACO, which is the number 2 ACO in the country. And last year savings, we got a check for 50.56 million, which is a record. And we have about 80,000 patients. So same time we started Doctors ACO with the help of Subodh and others. And Subodh basically is the CEO of that ACO running that. We achieved savings 2 years in a row.
We can't hear you.
And hopefully we'll continue to achieve. So hopefully, can you hear me now?
Better.
Is it better?
Better, much better.
So with the help of Subodh, who is the CEO of Doctors ACO, we created Doctors ACO, which achieved savings 2 years in a row, and now it has an enhanced ACO. So from time to time, Subodh is our leader in creating these educational seminars. He does a lot of things like that. This is a wonderful idea to listen to him, because all of us and every business is in the same boat. And this is a CARE Act that Subodh and his guests will talk about more, which will benefit all of us. So I'll hand it over to Subodh again.
Thank you, Raj. Raj has got a big business, and so let me invite Dr. Neelaguru. Dr. Neelaguru has 2 qualities with us. He's a physician, internist, cardiologist, and also a banker. We own a Quantum International Bank, and they are preferred lender for a Small Business Association. So Dr. Neil, tell us about you and how can you help us in 2 minutes. Go and unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you, Subodh. First of all, I want to thank all the organizers for letting me on this panel. For all the members out there who are on the call, hi to them, because I was one of you. I was a member of the Doctors ACO until I retired in 2017. And just before I retired, I did a fat check from the Doctors ACO because of saving the money. So thank you for all that. And we started the Quantum National Bank in 1995, and we have been a preferred lender since year one, meaning that we make all the decisions inside the bank. We do not have to approach the SBA to get the approval. And we have extraordinary expertise in making the SBA loans. We have infrastructure and we have personnel to do that. And after a minute or so, I would like to have Brian introduce more about the bank. We are a 505 million asset-based bank with 3 branches in Suwannee, Buckhead, and Alpharetta. And I'm delighted to help my fellow physicians to get through this crisis and get them the loans soon. Thank you both.
Thank you, Dr. Neil. So let me introduce you Chuck Stevens. He's our CPA for Doctors ACO as well in my practice, and he has seen the downside of my practice in the last 3 months. So Chuck, tell us about what can you do to help us practice like us, smart practice, independent practice, how to go through this difficult time.
Well, thank you, Dr. Agarwal. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of y'all today. As you said, my name is Chuck Stevens. I'm a CPA in Athens, Georgia. I've been practicing for almost 20 years now. I'm the accountant for Doctors ACO. I've been with them since the beginning. It's been a long journey. It's been very interesting to see all the ins and outs of how the ACO works. About the last week or so, probably the last 3 or 4 days of this last week, I've spent as much time as I can trying to figure out the ins and outs of these new programs that the CARES Act is allowing for people. There's 2 main provisions of it that allow the government to fund payroll, rent, utilities, interest payments, things like that for small businesses. There's also a provision through Medicare, Medicaid, where providers can be loaned money or future monies that they are going to earn. Those would have to be paid back, but it's basically a quick loan to inject funds into the businesses. What the government's looking to do really is just give enough cash flow to the businesses so that they can survive for the next two months or so, 2.5 months, until all of these problems go away. So, just looking, my goal is to provide advice over how we can best suit your needs, best make your cash flows run as smoothly as possible, and pay as few taxes as possible.
Thank you, Chuck. So next is, let me introduce Ryan Hammock. He's from Pinnacle Bank. He's been banker for quite some time. So Ryan, tell us how fast you can give us money.
All right, thank you, Dr. Agarwal. So Ryan Hammock, I'm with Pinnacle Bank and have been in banking for the past 16 years. I moved over, joined Pinnacle, which we're a $1.2 billion community bank based here in Georgia. And we've been in business and in banking for more than 80 years. But what we've been doing and what I've been doing over the past week is similar to what Tuck had mentioned, is trying to understand the CARE Act leading up to it being signed into law Friday, and then also since it's been signed into law, trying to understand what that legislation means leading up to the SBA publishing its guidelines. Some of those guidelines came out earlier today. There will still be some clarification that I believe lenders will need leading up to the application date of this Friday, with that program opening up. And getting back to Dr. Agarwal's question on how quickly can we get you money, we will get it turned around as quickly as possible, because that's the only way that we'll be able to help anyone get through this, to eliminate any log jams on our side and to keep you and your people with money in their hands.
Thank you, Ryan. Let me tell you, man, the smartest person I know is Lou Marguer. He is in Palm Beach. He live in a beautiful place. So, Lou, tell us how we can get out of this problem quickly. Tell us about you, Libet.
You can let us come to your place, Lou.
Oh, Lou, you're still muted. Lou, we can't hear you. You're still muted.
Certainly in very unique times here, very uncertain times, challenging times, unprecedented times. You know, it's great to see our government step up with a $2 trillion rescue package. It's great to see our Federal Reserve, you know, lowering interest rates, lending trillions of dollars to banks, you know, buying up hundreds of billions of dollars of our debt. You know, it's great to see, you know, Congress working together on this. Even our president says we should be back to work in June. I just heard Jamie Dimon says he expects the market to bottom out maybe in July. Though Goldman Sachs is saying that maybe it's next year. But I think Jerome Powers, from the chairman of the Federal Reserve, said it best that there's fundamentally nothing wrong with our economy, that this is a healthcare, you know, crisis, and that he expects that we would have a good rebound, you know, once we're on the other side of this. But the virus certainly will set the recovery timetable. You know, I've talked to lots of physicians over the last, you know, few days in board meetings, and, you know, we're finding physicians saying that as they go around hospitals, they're seeing that they're half full, you know, and expecting a normal, you know, enormous, you know, floods of patients to come. But meanwhile, you know, they're exhausting, you know, reserves of enormous funds to keep afloat. And so, you know, most importantly, we have our healthcare providers on the forefront that we want to thank. You know, we're at a time where the world has just about stopped, you know, and, you know, our restaurant workers, our retail workers, our entertainment workers, you know, everything is basically almost closed up, you know, but our healthcare providers are right there on the forefront. And again, thank you very much. It's really kind of amazing how overnight, with the one waiver from the president, that telehealth has just popped up, and our very bright physicians across the country overnight became experts in telehealth. And I hear 10s, 20s. I heard one doctor had 200 telehealth visits in the first week. I mean, that's very, very impressive. Now, Medicare and CMS has stepped up to the plate also. You know, as the other gentlemen and bankers will tell us about the SBA forgiveness loans, you know, that are being offered, the Paycheck Protection Program. Medicare is now offering an accelerated advanced payment program. This is where physicians have the opportunity to get funds from Medicare within 7 days. That's probably the fastest form of funding. Basically, Medicare says all you have to do is put in a request and fill out an application. And they have hotline numbers, which Amy will send out to you. I'll forward to her, where you could just simply call up and do it by the phone. You know, they'll walk you through it. And you can request up to 100% of 3 months of your Medicare collections. So if you collect $100,000 a month, to pick a number, you know, 3 months, you could get an accelerated advance payment of $300,000 within 7 days. Phenomenal. Great program to help our physicians that are out there struggling to try to make this work while their revenues are down 50% or so. Some of them are even closed, you know, but we're trying to keep this together here. Now, Medicare is saying that you have to pay us back. And so after 120 days, after 4 months, they'll start the payback period, which is the following 90 days. And so if you borrowed $300,000 in the very beginning, plus, by the way, you can still bill like you normally do your new claims, and you're going to get paid 100% of those claims within the first 4 months. After the 4 months, and months 5, 6, and 7, Medicare is going to be withdrawing from your collections the amount that was advanced to you. Okay, so I mean, the way to look at this is it's getting some fast money infused into it. And so maybe that's really could help the doctors to get started here. And then at the same time, talk to Brian, the other gentleman in the banks, to be able to put together the forgiveness loans, where that's going to be a little further down the road. So this could be a bridge into the forgiveness loan. All right. Now, and talking to Dr. Bansell before the call, he was saying, yeah, it's a really good program, but you can't really spend the money unless you really need to. So put it in the bank, use it if you have to, but just don't go out and just spend it all, because you're going to find yourself in months 5, 6, and 7, basically having Medicare take it all back. And so I see this as pretty much a bridge loan. In Florida, they have these $50,000 loans that they're already starting to give out, basically for a year, no interest, and you have to pay it back after a year. And by the way, at 12% interest. But again, it's fast money you can get up front, save it, it's your survival money, use it sparsely, and then, and then bridge it into something else in the future. All right, so, we're here to help you. We're here to support you. We appreciate you. We thank you for being on the front line. And we're, please feel free to reach out and ask us any questions or to help in any way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lou. And we would like to invite Brian Cohen. He's right hand of Dr. Nilaguru in the bank. So if you need money, you need to call him rather than Dr. Nilaguru. So Brian, tell us about your office.
So Dr. Neal described Quantum National Bank. We're, again, based, our main location is in Swanee. What I want to focus on, though, is the SBA program that Congress passed to be able to effectively get a grant. It's called a loan, but in reality, it's the ability for a small business to borrow money strictly based on their historic payroll numbers so that they can continue to operate their company. The key part of this program are two things. One is all of the money that you receive, as long as you use those dollars for payroll and some other specific reasons, again, acts as a grant. You do not have to pay that money back. The other part, and this is the big aha, is you cannot let go of any employees. If you have already let go of some employees, you can still get the money, but you have to hire them back at the time that you take the funds, and then use those funds to be able to help pay the payroll. The goal of the program, more than anything, is to keep the economy afloat and small business people the ability to run their companies for the next 2 or 3 months. If COVID-19 is still a significant issue in a couple of months, there is already serious discussion about stimulus program number 4. With all of that said, I cannot tell you the level of demand for this payroll protection plan, which again is really a grant. We have customers in every industry that are looking at getting these funds as quickly as possible. The funding actually the application opens up on Friday. My expectation is that computers are going to collapse, that SBA is not going to be well staffed for the program. However, as long as you are working with a bank that has a direct line conduit funding with SBA, you should be able to get your money in as quick a period of time as we can get it. In theory, you could get the money within a week, but that's after the approval process, which means you've gone through the SBA process and the entire program is actually operating. So it's a pretty dynamic but very short-term funding opportunity to help small business people. Doctors are clearly at the lead line, but for a very short period of time. The funds are going to open up soon. You have to use all of the money within 60 days. And I'll save any other questions or comments I have for questions that people might have. It's a very dynamic program. Truly, if I'm not talking to somebody or looking at email, it seems to have changed in the last hour.
Great. Thank you, Brian. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start taking questions from audience. Everybody who can have a question, they can send us in a chat on the program. There on the cell phone, they on the top right, There's a bubble. You click that bubble, then you're going to have a chat dialog open up, and we will be reading those questions and ask you. So let me ask you this. This question is basically open to all of them, and just take short time and tell us about it. Now, we know the money is coming, and we are really need money now. So what is the fastest way? Which program is the fastest, which all of us should do it tomorrow, or if not tonight?
Real quickly, this is Brian with Quantum. Clearly, the payroll protection plan, assuming that the government is able to get their website functioning and the application to function, is going to be the quickest way to get money in fast order. Everything else is going to have to go through some kind of processing. The disaster relief program has to actually, you have to be qualified for. Per Lou, I don't know about the program on Medicare, et cetera, but just for general funding, it will be extremely fast, assuming SBA gets their act in order.
Let me tell you for all audience that we basically, our office practice administrator applied for a loan today from Medicare Advance. What was that, Don? What was that?
The accelerated payment.
Accelerated payment. We asked for significant amount of money for 3 months expenses. The application is gone, and it was very easy to do. You just go to your Medicare administrator website, and then there's a form, which is one-page form. As Lou said, Lou, can you take it from here and tell us how quickly you can get the money?
Just a minute, Lou. You're still muted. Let me get you unmuted.
You send it in. CMS is committed to 7 days of funding it.
So my recommendation to all of you is that please tomorrow spend about 30 minutes, fill up this form, and ask whatever money you need. You have to give them money back, but at least you will have some money to pay for your people till your money come from the paycheck protection program. So in order to tell you more about paycheck protection program, Ryan Hammock has obtained the application, how to apply for it. Ryan, can you take over and tell us about what you do?
Certainly. So, and touching on something that Brian mentioned earlier, the application will be open on on Friday of this week. The application was published earlier today, and Amy will send that out to everyone after this call. While of course we would love for you to apply through Pinnacle Bank, the application, it does cover all banks. So any financial institution, any bank in America, you can apply through. Any farm credit program, any farm credit lender you can apply through as well. As we think through, and I'm looking over some of the questions that came up on how do you get a copy of that SBA loan application, Amy will send it out here in a few moments. And then the things that you can work on between now and Friday, because application would have to be dated for this Friday, April 3rd. You could not submit it before then. But the things you can work on between now and then is the calculation, is pulling your payroll files, having your staff pull your payroll files, because the total amount you can borrow is a multiplier of your total payroll expense. If you take your monthly payroll expense, multiply it by 250%, that's going to be the maximum amount that you can borrow. And when we think about payroll expense, you can think of any employer contributions to retirement accounts, employer contributions towards health insurance premiums for that group health plan. And then what you can use the money on, the SBA did provide guidance that they would like to see a minimum of 75% of those monies used towards payroll. Although for those of you that have a rent payment, so long as the lease was signed more than a month ago, you should be able to use those monies to cover that lease payment also, and also for any of the utilities in your practice. Now, I would need to look towards Tuck Stevens, and then also we would need to get a little more guidance from the SBA on what exactly qualifies as a utility. But we'll see more of that guidance come out as the week goes on. But again, the biggest thing to work on between now and then is just understanding that payroll. And whenever you pull your payroll files, as I think of most physician practices, you're not overly cyclical, meaning your business should be fairly steady throughout the course of the year. The SBA guidance is to pull your calendar year 2019 payroll file for that calculation. And then payroll protection. So the way that I understand the program is once you apply, you're able to, they're going to look at how much your payroll is for the next 8 weeks. And when I say we'll look at your payroll for the next 8 weeks, that's going to be when we consider the forgivability portion of the loan. So say that your historical payroll is $100,000 a month. The total amount that theoretically you could borrow is $250,000. If your payroll were to stay at $100,000 a month going forward, then for the next 8 weeks or the next 60 days, $200,000 of that should be forgivable. The additional $50,000, we would recommend you look at rent payments, the interest portion of your mortgage payment, and your utility payments to be able to take up the rest of that amount for the forgivability. The interest rate is going to be the same regardless of the bank you go to. The terms are all dictated from the SBA. The thing that will be, in my opinion, important to you is to look to a bank like Pinnacle Bank and our team, a bank like Quantum Bank and Brian's team, people who are experienced in SBA lending to be able to help you through this process. And it'll be banks like those that are able to help, I believe, get you your money the quickest.
Fine. Dr. Neela goes they're preferred SBA loaner. So should we all go to him because you preferred, or anybody else?
So
are you preferred, or should we? No, we basically we want money. So we want to go, first chance. Whom we go to? Preferred one, we need to check. Are you preferred or not preferred?
So for this particular program, the SBA has opened it up to where all financial institutions are considered preferred lenders. That's not going to be the same for a non-paycheck protection program 7A loan. Not all banks are preferred lenders, but for this particular program, again, unless something's changed in the past hour, which things are coming out quickly, then all banks do have that designation for this particular program.
Just real quickly, I think that's sort of accurate.
From audience is.
Yeah, just back to the preferred lender. A bank has to have direct funding ability with SBA. So you don't have to be technically an SBA preferred lender. However, you have to fall into the SBA direct funding program, and a lot of banks don't. So you really need to make sure to be cautious. SBA is not looking at this being a paper process. It's all going to need to be an electronic process. And the other big thing, and you may have a sense in just talking to folks, your coworkers, your accountants, your lawyers, there are going to be a tremendous amount of loan applications made on Friday. There's also a lot of technical information that has not even been released yet. So your banker or your advisor can give you the best information they have, but as already said, it's the best information as of today. And that information, I can assure you, will be different tomorrow because SBA has not put out any technical regulations at all besides a very simple application.
So let me ask you this question, and please answer. Like somebody, a doctor, Vinod Sacheti is in New Jersey. Dr. Bansal is in Palm Beach. So they have a banker. Every doctor has a banker. Every doctor has an accountant. So how do they know their banker is as good as Dr. Neil? Anybody going to tell me that?
They're obviously not. I mean, he's a doctor and a banker, right? I think if somebody trusts their their advisors, they need to directly ask their banker if they understand this program and if they have a direct relationship with funding through SBA. And by example, I'm in a group of about 20 bankers in Georgia, and in that group, 5 or 6 are very confident about what they're doing, and the other 15 who are great bankers are trying to figure out how to get approved and have no clue as to what to do next. So yes, technically you might be able to be in the program. If you do not understand how to deal with government lending, even though this is a much more straightforward process, I think you're at risk of, this is the real risk, is not getting in the queue, because the money is available and the money is going to move out very quickly. So if you do not get in the queue timely, have your application filled out properly, and work with somebody who understands what they're doing, you're at risk at not getting those funds. I did see a question come across the top, and it was a good point earlier on the interest rate. It's 4%. It's 4% for everybody. That's what SBA says the number's going to be, and that's what it's going to be. However, again, if you follow the rules, all of that money is potentially forgivable and acts like a grant. And again, everybody needs money quickly, but it's different if you have money that you potentially don't have to pay back.
Awesome, very good. So let me ask you, I read the question from the audience. The main question now is this. You have a, Dr. Do you want to say something?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Just Brian, it's like make sure you has experience in doing these loans. It's like, going to a surgeon who does an appendectomy once or twice a year compared to the one that does it every day. So it's as simple as that. And also add a little to Ryan's comments, not only the payroll includes what is said, but also if you have an independent contractor that you are paid, that also counts. Also, you must pay to the vacation, medical leave, sick leave, and in the last couple of months, if you have let somebody go and you paid a 2-week, 3-week severance pay, that also counts. Any money that you contribute to the retirement benefit, that also counts. Any state or local taxes you pay, that also counts. So it's just not the payroll that you pay to the employees. You need to take all the other things into account.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Neil. So the main question coming out is they want to understand that if your payroll in January was $300,000 and payroll consists of W-2 patient people as well as 1099. So in February was $300,000, and then you realize you cannot afford that. In March, you let almost 90% people go, W-2 as well as 1099, and you don't know when you're going to get money. Now you got money in May, and then you say, okay, I'm going to get all my people back because I have money. I'm going to pay them back. So, give me a calculation how that will work, and how.
So to take, I think the thing that people need to really understand is when you take the money, you have to have all of your employees pre-crisis. So you have to either have continued to have them on staff, or you need to hire them back. But when you take the money, you have to be fully staffed as you were before COVID-19. I saw a question come across the top too. The cap on the income per employee is $100,000. So if you have, for example, 5 employees that are making $50,000 a year and 5 employees that are making $150,000 a year, the ones that are at 150, the compensation number is calculated at a cap of $100,000. So that might not give you all of the funds that you are looking for to hire everybody back or have them in place at what was their previous salary at a different time.
So let me ask you about the W-2 employee versus 1099. Are they treated same way in this program or differently? Who can tell me, Ryan or Dr. Neil?
I think it's the same. Yeah.
W-2 or 1099, it doesn't matter. But one thing that people sometimes are thinking is anything that I have 1099 qualifies. It's only if you have 1099 employees. So it's not for 1099s that you might have for goods, services, other vendors you use. Let's just say you have a nurse practitioner that you pay on a 1099 basis as opposed to a W-2 basis. That does qualify, but they have to have worked for your specific practice on a work relationship, and that's very specific per the regulation.
So let me ask you one question here, very clear is, so if the employee, one employee makes $200,000 or $150,000, you still get that payment, paycheck protection for the employee, but up to $100,000. Is that correct? Or that employee will be excluded for protection?
That's correct. You could go up to 100,000. And then
If you make $100,000, your salary is protected up to maximum amount of $100,000. So employee who are W-2 employee as well as 1099 employee are treated same way in this system. And so the key here is that if we let people go, as soon as we get money, do we need to get money first before we rehire them people? Or we have to hire first?
We have to hire first. You have to hire first before you get the check, not after.
Are you sure about that?
no, my understanding is you have until June 30th to restore your full-time employment and salary levels for any changes made between February 15th of this year and April 26th of this year.
So that was our plan, but when we get the money, we don't know when we're gonna get money. If we get money in 5 weeks or 4 weeks, we will run out of a lot of money. So we promise to all our employees that we will hire them back once we get the money. But if we're not gonna get money until we hire them, then we got a problem. Or who can clear this? We are very clear about that?
No, I think that's so in looking at the last, I didn't print the forms that were on the internet until about an hour ago, and in the previous version yesterday, you had to, at the time you get the money, you had to restore your full employment. The current version of the form says you have until, yeah, he's correct, you have until June 30th, 2020 to restore your full-time employment and salary levels for any changes made between February 15th and April 26th. So that is a change that has been made in the last 24 hours, which clearly, I think they got the feedback that it was not possible for people to get people back that quickly. And the other thing, a good issue with a practice is you might not need folks today because you can't open your practice for another month because the hospital won't let you, that you're affiliated with. But yes, you do have under this change until June 30th.
So let me clarify everybody who's audience, and I want to make sure, because I'm going through that myself. So our payroll was significant in February. We cut down by 30, almost like 70% in March or in April, and we continue to cut down in June. No, in May until we get the money. So the question is, can we get the money without restoring all the employee back to the job? And once we get the money, then we can hire them. Is that possible?
To my understanding, yes.
Ryan said yes. Anybody say no?
So I think what you need to focus on is there's two things. One is I've seen some people ask, do you have to rehire the same exact people? And I haven't seen any guidance if it needs to be the same people. I think they're more focused on headcount. It is going to be your responsibility to provide the documentation back to your lender, which is then going to be provided back to SBA to allow you to get the forgiveness. So it is on the borrower to provide all of the documentation to verify that those funds are being used appropriately and that you have hired everybody back. I know from a documentation perspective, they're expecting that the banks are using the full faith and trust of the borrower. So there is not a provision as of yet that the bank is supposed to come to your office and do a head count or anything of that nature. But there is a fair amount of responsibility again on your end. If you do not provide the information, it does, you get to keep the money, but it turns into a loan instead of a forgiveness.
I like that. That's great. So Luke,
And I saw somebody else ask, should they apply to 2 or 3 banks at one time? I think that's a terrible idea. I think, you're gonna, if you are not this, you need to work with a bank that you trust, and you will be making a mistake for yourself if you do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. So let me ask you another question, which comes from David. David said that, I want all the money I can get. I can get paycheck protection program. I want to get $1 million for that. And then also I want to apply for the small business injury loan, another $1 million. So can you do both?
No, you cannot.
You say
All,
yes.
all depends on your payroll expenses if you go through the SBA program, basically for the 7-year loan. And whether it's $1 million, $10 million, all depends on your taxes, payroll amount.
So Ryan, do you have anything to say on that?
No, I agree with Dr. Neal.
Okay, very good. Very good. So basically, I think if you really want immediate money, go for the accelerated payment program from Medicare. And if you need any info, Emmy will send you all the information, and you should apply that for tomorrow. And then get ready to fill up that form. I think form will be, the address from where you can download the form will be sent to you by Emmy from Dr. Says Here to everybody you want to. And anybody has other question or any point? We are almost 15 minutes to go.
Okay, can you hear me? Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, my name is Rohit Dandi. I am an investor both in Palm Beach ACO and the Doctors ACO, and I'm an internist in Palm Beach Gardens. So the first thing is you have to have your bank. You have to go through your bank, right? You don't have to go through the SBA site. That is just to understand what's going on.
That's a
right?
question.
You have to go to,
Is the comment or question?
it's a question. You have to go to your bank, right?
So there's two programs. The payroll protection, you have to go through your bank. If you want to file for the SBA for disaster relief, you have to go through SBA. They're bifurcated. You got to pick one or the other.
I see. Because when I went to the site today, it seemed that you could apply to both and then you decide where you want to be. So that's not true. You choose what you want to do, right?
Not from the guidance that we have at this point.
Okay, well, obviously, Okay, so basically you have to go through the bank. That's the thing. Do you have to, can we go to Dr. Neil Guru's bank or you have to go to a local bank? Being in Florida.
You can go to a bank that you trust and feel comfortable with.
So
within the state or outside the state?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
And obviously the bank will be making some money, so they have an interest in doing this.
Yes, banks are, there's a set, really the banks are getting so good. Kind of backing up for a second, the banks are getting a servicing fee. And you're in Florida, so this is a great example. When there's a hurricane, FEMA comes into the rescue and they, run around to the local area and they pass out checks and they try to make the community healthy again. Just think about what this is. This is a national emergency, a national disaster. And the government is using the banking industry to disseminate the money instead of FEMA. If you think about it that way, it's kind of the way the program works.
Okay, so there'll be a mad rush on Friday. What do you recommend we do? How can we be ready so we are first online on Friday? Is there a form that we can download and get it ready, or the bank has to give us the form? How can we be the first in line as best as we can?
That's a good question. So immediately after, or soon after this call, Amy will send out an email that will include the application with it, as well as a 4-page document that's pulled together to assist borrowers with a number of questions. So you'll be able to see both of those coming out. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the big focus will be on understanding your payroll for
Payroll,
2019.
Yeah. So Amy will send it to all of us in the meeting. Amy, please, although we are not.
There's some other ways to calculate that payroll. And I would recommend working with your CPA, your tax attorney, working closely with your banker to understand.
Okay, so we will get a form from you that will sort of help us practice what we have to do.
You need to be full, and then you need to tell banker, if you love me, put me in number one, and that's the way you're going to get money. Is that right? Yeah.
So the form that you give us, can we take that form, or the bank has to give us their own form to fill?
No, it's come to the website, and we'll send you the form. We'll send you all the information. So
and that form we take to the bank, right?
Banker, you pay banker to come to you and take the form from you and tell them this
number.
number.
Well, whatever, wait. Yeah. We're not going to wait for anyone to come to us. We'll go. But that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
So we can use that form for our application, right?
Correct.
The form that you send us.
Correct.
The application is very simple. It's a 2-page application and 2-page instructions. And so once it is sent out, and it's equally important that you have your payroll calculations done, because without that, you do not know how much to apply.
Okay, what is the number of this form? Is it like a federal form?
It's a FBA form.
Okay, now this is
last question. What is the number of this form? Is there a number to this form?
Yeah,
3245.
3245.
Yeah, 3483. SBA form.
So
2483 and within bracket 320. So this form was created on March 20th. The form number is 2483 SBA. This is the
2483.
Yeah, this form. We'll send you this.
Okay.
I think it's
Thank
going
you,
to be sent. I think
very nice meeting. Very nice.
One thing I think the biggest, and I think everybody needs to understand what the bank's risk is, because I think this is where all the banks or whoever you work with are going to be focused on, is the payroll information has to be nailed. It has to be 100% accurate. And as a bank, we have to verify all of your payroll information. We're not going to be pulling your personal financial statement. We're not going to be getting financials on your company. This whole program is based on the payroll piece. And if the information that any bank gets, honestly, if a bank does not take it extremely seriously, the bank is making a huge error. We are going to stop the presses at Quantum unless we are completely confident that the payroll information is totally accurate.
It will also help the banker if you have a proof that you are a legal entity to do the business in the state. Like in Georgia, if you go to the Secretary of State website, you can print out the form that you are a legal entity to do the business. That will make the job of the banker easier.
Okay.
So this is Raj. Can I have a question?
Sure, Raj, go ahead.
This payroll protection, is this a first come, first serve? And if the fund is exhausted, that we will lose it?
So what do you think, Raj, answer going to be? Basically, that's what's going to happen. Who get the money first, then the second money, we're going to get the stimulus number 4 before they get the money. So I think in present mind is that this doctor's meeting, take the advantage of this, fill the form Friday, it goes through the bank, make sure they're on the top of it, and make sure you are top 1,000 application. Something like that.
Yeah, on the question though, on the Treasury website, to that answer, it is first come, first serve. There's a caveat on there that says get your application in, but there is a limit.
All right, great, thank you.
If you go to the USTreasury.gov website, you'll see 4 forms with all the explanations.
So just think of it as going to your local deli and you get a ticket. The first person that gets a ticket is the first in line, and they get as much as they can get, and it goes person after person. That's exactly the way SBA historically works with all their programs.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I
have a quick question.
A quick question that came up. on if we're able to get the Medicare advance payment and the payroll protection loan. Yes, you can apply for each of those.
I had a question. So for the calculation of the payroll, if we take the gross payroll, that would include all the taxes we are paying plus the 401k contributions. Would that be a good way to do it?
No, you should pull your W-2 and your W-3 run. That's what it's going to be based on. It's from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019. If you rely on your W-2 run, that'll be spot on to the penny.
You mean just add up all the W-2s, right?
You could add the W-2s, but if you're a doctor or assistant that makes 100, think of it as 3 people, 2 of them making 80, and then you make 150. You can only add the 80 and 100. You can't add the other 50. You have to subtract
So
that.
the best is to get all your W-2s from last year and add them up, and that's the cleanest way to do it, really.
That is the cleanest way to do it.
So I have a question for Lou. Lou, can
That
you
was very helpful.
listen to me?
So when we add up the W-2s, sorry. So when we add up the W-2s, do we just take the wages that are taxable, or do we look at the other boxes too?
You're going to pull your W-2 and pull your, I think it's your box 1 possibly, or your gross
Taxable
payroll.
wages?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ask you a question, T.
I don't have the W-2 in front of me. I'm sorry.
Okay. So the question is here from the audience is, now you were quick enough to get the accelerated advance payment from Medicare. Can you still apply for a paycheck protection program?
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Of course.
Yes.
So you get the money from Medicare, which you have to give your money back. Then you can get the money from the federal government, which you don't have to give money back.
Correct.
Very good. So let me tell you, we are going to close this meeting, and we got 5 minutes to go. Anybody has any question which they really need to know, you go ahead now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. Can we ask you a question, please? This is Bob Aramailing, and I want to know, we wanted to get some new employees on board this year. So if you're going to say only W-2s of last year, this person who we wanted to employ from March onwards, that person will not be counted?
Brian.
I can answer that. It's based off of full-time equivalent employees. So it doesn't matter whether it's the same person or not. You just have to have the same number of full-time equivalent people working during each period.
That's awesome. So you can change your labor force and hire new people. And fantastic. So
no, we were trying to expand. So it's not exactly 1:1 match for last year.
So what you exactly you asking that if you have 10 employees in 2020, you have 20 employees. So how the government will do that? Would they give you more money? That's your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's the question. So if you have 10 employees in 2019, now you have 20 employees in 2020. Do you get more money?
So this is your risk, is that you have to make a statement that your business is being negatively impacted by COVID-19. So if you've doubled in size, you're going to have a hard time making that statement.
Okay, you got that. Bob.
Question. Hello.
No, prior to the COVID-19 thing happening, if we hire these people, say March 1st, if we hire them on March 1st because we wanted some additional services, there's no precedence for it before.
I think
That's a good point.
Good point, and we will let anybody know the answer. They'll address that to you. So let me tell you, we're going to end this here now. We got about 2 minutes. So what we're going to do is we really want Dr. CCO, Palm Beach CCO, Independent Physician Association, for all our independent physicians to prosper during this miserable time. So we want everybody to apply for advance payment. If we can get it as soon as possible. If you don't like it, don't want it, send it to me. I take it, send you back. Okay, the second thing. Go ahead. Second
Sorry,
thing,
send all the forms quickly as you can, please. That'll be the number one goal.
second thing, please, 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 spend 30 minutes to an hour tomorrow, go over the form, get everything done, get your CPA, get your banker, fill out properly. Now, if they say they don't know what they're doing, you can look at their face, look at your eyes, you know that you're the doctor, you know who knows it, you don't know it, okay? So, please, it's very important that everything you do is perfect. You know, your first application is perfect. And we are here to help. You know, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do another meeting similar like this. Once the application filed, there's any problem, we see how can we solve it. We invite our guests. We want to thank all our panelists to spend their time.
Subodh,
Yes.
Subodh, this is Raj Bansal. Just
Yes.
one quick suggestion.
Yes.
All the questions which have been asked, can Amy write the answers which were given and send it as an email?
Sure, we will. Amy, can you do that? Say yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Amy, say yes.
Can.
Yes.
Great.
We'll
Thank
do
you.
that. We will put
Do we have a
everything-
time for the next meeting scheduled? When are we having the next one?
Yes, we will. We will send you an email, a text, like we did today. What we want to know is, see, we want to get additional information and timing of that before we announce it. So I think the Friday will be the application, and we're gonna go. So we know a little bit more about this next week, and then as soon as we get something additional information, we announce again. We want to protect all our independent physicians. We want to make sure they don't sell out to the hospital. We want to make sure that the ACO, independent ACO, remain strong and powerful, and hopefully we turn the tide. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Dr. Neil, and David, and Lou, and Chuck, and Raj Bansal. We appreciate all your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Subodh. Very well done.
Thank you,
everybody.
Subodh.
Thank you. Thank you, Subodh.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a great
Bye.
evening.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Perfect.
So